Hello, everyone. Here is my disclaimer. Any information discussed in this interview may not be the views of the station or host. Please discuss any information with your primary care physician. Hello, everyone. This is Betsy Wurzel, your host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio, where our mantra is to educate, enlighten, and entertain. Folks, you want to listen to the show today? I love doing stories on people who they take their cause and they help other people. They take something that might have been difficult in their life and they triumph, and they're triumphant and they're victorious, and they go out and help other people. Well, that's my guest today. My guest, Becky Large, is Executive Director of Champion Autism Network. She's a mom of adult child on the autistic spectrum. And I just interviewed Becky back in May with Julie Ellis about Myrtle Beach being autism-friendly. And Becky Large, you are such a wonderful advocate. I want to welcome you to Chatting with Betsy.
Oh, thank you so much, and it's great to be back and be speaking with you. Really grateful.
Oh, well, you are so welcome. It is my pleasure. We have something in common, Becky. We both have sons who are on the autistic spectrum. I believe your son is much younger than Josh, than my son. And I'd like to know, what was your experience, or well, let me start from the beginning. I get so excited I can't talk. I don't take myself too seriously. How did you know that your son was autistic? And did the doctors believe you? Because this is a problem that I had.
Right. Well, there was some tendencies from when he was just a little bit past 2. I was like, that's kind of odd, and kind of tantrums and meltdowns, but not really understanding. And then he went to a preschool, and they're like, there's something not right with your son. And so he got diagnosed with ADHD, 95th percentile, and then, of course, the dreaded PDD, NOS, the pervasive development disorder, not otherwise specified diagnosis, which gets you nowhere. So it wasn't until he was 7 when he got the dual diagnosis of Asperger's and ADHD. And we didn't know, you don't know anything. And somebody was, trying to figure out how to get the diagnosis, where to get the diagnosis. And finally somebody said a developmental pediatrician. So, okay, great. Because we even went to a psychiatrist, but I guess it's, when they're higher functioning, it's harder, I think, for psychiatrists or what. Anyway, so we got the dual diagnosis from the developmental pediatrician, and I counsel everybody to go that way, but apparently developmental pediatricians are kind of few and far between. They require extra residency and training, but they don't make any more money. So it's not something that a lot of pediatricians go into. So that was our story, and then it was just trying to figure out services and IEPs and, all that kind of type stuff.
Wow. We have so much in common, Becky. My son was also diagnosed with the pervasive developmental disorder, not otherwise specified. He also went to a developmental pediatrician who then gave me the diagnosis. I mean, I took Josh to the top neurologists that were available in New Jersey, and they told nothing. You know what they told me? That he had ADHD, but this kid didn't move. So I know he wasn't hyperactive.
Yeah, he's just a quirky kid, and I'm like, no, I think there's a little bit more to it. I do, yeah.
Yeah, or lazy. The first pediatrician said, no. Yeah, Josh is just lazy, and you're an overprotective mother, And when Josh was going to go into 8th grade, the child study team told me to go to this developmental pediatrician. They paid for it. And he told me in 45 minutes and Josh was 13 at the time. And I thought, why didn't these other doctors tell me? Because I stopped going to the neurologist because it wasn't helping. And he said, well, they didn't know back then what they know now.
Yep.
And, you know, Josh was put on Ritalin, and that didn't really help him. Was your son put on Ritalin?
We did do ADHD meds. We started out really conservatively in the very beginning, but now he, you know, through, you know, school, as it became more challenging, he was taking, he tried Concerta and then most recently Focalin. And, you know, now at his age, his brother also has ADHD. But so they both take their meds, but they take it when they feel they need to take it. They're kind of really good self-advocates that way. So, you know, it's a tool for them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Josh was young. I mean, he wasn't even 2, and they tried him on that. And then at 6, and he would be very cranky when the medicine was getting, you know, less than when it wore off.
Oh,
yes, exactly. Thank you.
Horrible. Oh my God.
Good word.
Horrible.
Yes.
Can I tell you
and sure.
I actually took one of, I forget, it was like 5 years ago. I took one of the boys' pills just to see what it was like. And you know how, like, whenever they first start taking a new med, like it bothers their stomach? That was horrible.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, it was fine during the day, but man, that crash, I was like, it was like I feel like every parent should try the drugs because just to know, because I've been much kinder, like when they get home from school and they were horrible and experiencing the crash, I'd be like, oh, you poor thing, rather than what's wrong with you, you know? So, yeah, I mean, they're serious. They, you know, they help, but there's, you know, they go through a lot. Our kids go through so much, you know, even with ADHD meds and the, you know, the tummy troubles when you start a new med or the crash at the end of the day, and then just trying to keep it together throughout the day, right? You know, make eye contact, follow what the teacher's saying, trying not to be socially awkward. It's no wonder why they come home absolutely exhausted and really, really bent, you know, like just crash aside, you know, they're exhausted.
Yes.
Anyway, that's what, you know, my life is, you know, what I want to do is, you know, educate people, maybe not necessarily about that granular, what we're talking about, which is really fun to talk about. I don't know about fun, but, you know, it's really nice to talk to people who get it and understand all these things. And that's one of the values of, you know, what I am passionate about is supporting the family unit. There's all those wonderful organizations that support the person with autism, right? Speech therapists and ABA and OTPT, blah, 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 blah. But there's really nothing, well, now it's starting to be more for the family, right? We've got to educate the public on, you know, our people, right? And reduce judgment if there is a tantrum or a meltdown. We have to create or curate environments where the person with autism is comfortable so that when they come and the family can come and relax and be around people who understand and get it. And if their child, you know, whatever age, is socially awkward or stimming or flapping around or having a tantrum or whatever, you know, we all get it. And if you have to leave, fine. If you just want to, you know, let them swirl around, great. And that excites me. That makes me happy if we get people together and that kind of behavior happens and everybody's fine with it and relaxes and it's a hoot.
Yes, so yes. I really admire you, Becky, for starting your Champion Autism Network and helping families. I mean, I just think that's great. And I have to ask you, actually, before I ask you about your advocacy, I'm just curious, did your son go to a special ed school? Did he have special ed or was he in a resource room?
No, he was in, you know, gen ed, pulled out for social or pragmatic speech, that first social therapy and then pragmatic speech where it teaches, them how to hold a conversation. And,
right.
So that was really, really, I think pragmatic speech really was the biggest game changer for him. I do feel like, and I'm sure every parent, and you might feel like this too, that we could have done more,
Yeah.
But, there's, you can, hindsight is 20/20 kind of, so you just have to forgive yourself, and all you can do is all you can do,
Yeah, exactly. Well, we have a saying in the Alzheimer's community, you did the best with what you knew at the time, with the knowledge you had at that time, because things change all the time. My son, before he went to, he wasn't going to go to the local high school, once I had a diagnosis and I joined a support group, I learned about these private special ed schools, and I had the township take Josh there. Now, was your son's, I'm curious to ask you this, was your son's speech taken away after fourth grade?
No. He never lost his speech, thankfully.
I mean, speech therapy, the pragmatic
speech. No. We kept that up as long as, when did he finish that? Well, let's see. We relocated from South Jersey when he was in third grade, and then so it didn't get taken away until we felt like he didn't need it. And I think part of the benefit of my husband's a special needs attorney, and I am an advocate and everything. So we pretty much got everything we ever wanted or asked for. And if we needed it, we took an advocate with us as well.
That's great. Yeah, that was a problem.
We didn't really have anything taken away. I bet.
Yeah, that was a problem. Like in my situation, Joshua's situation, was after fourth grade, they stopped the services. They stopped the speech therapy, and he needed it. And that's why I said, you took away his the services that he needed. He would have to go to another school for that, and blah, blah, blah. And so when he was going to graduate from 8th grade, I said, you know what? You wasted 13 years. I am not sending him to this local high school because, first of all, I didn't feel safe. I don't need for my son to have a nervous breakdown. Here's the school I wanted to go to. And I threatened to sue him. I didn't have a lawyer. I didn't know that. But, I really want to encourage parents, I say this with Alzheimer's, I'll say with autism or any other, what would you call, challenge, disorder, diagnosis, do your research. Knowledge is power, folks, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Once I joined a support group, I gained knowledge, and it was powerful. And so I encourage people out there, check your local areas, contact Becky Large. Maybe she could, you could help them find a support group, but ask in your local area because there are support groups out there. So how did you go from being a mom of someone who's on the spectrum to being such a big advocate and starting your Champion Autism Network?
Like I mentioned, we relocated from southern New Jersey to Surfside Beach, South Carolina, which is right the neighbor to Myrtle Beach. And, it just didn't appear that there was anything autism related, in this area or in our county or whatever. So Charleston's about 2 hours south, and I read about a conference that was happening put on by the Low Country Autism Foundation, and I went down there, and there was this whole gymnasium full of all these resources, companies and therapists. I was like, oh my God, this is great. So I connected with the executive director of the Low Country Autism Foundation, and he said that our area was considered so transient that, there's no need for what they do there. And I was like, oh, well, trust me, there's a need. So I kind of partnered with them for a while. We started the sensory-friendly movies in 2013, and Laugh helped to fund them. And it was really, really fun. The lights are up, the sound is down, and, everybody's free to move around. And it was just such a wonderful experience for the families that came. Our first movie, we had 12 people, but we still hold them every month. So we've been doing that since 2013. And, after the program grew for a while, people wanted to know what else there was. So we took surveys, and the number one thing that our families wanted to do was to be able to go out to a restaurant. And so, as you can imagine, as we know, our people with autism get overwhelmed by light, sounds, smells, crowds, new environments. So we started a training program for restaurants on, how to treat our people with autism and their families. And got restaurants involved, and Champion Autism Network was born from that. And we then, in the end of 2015, I was like, wow, we live in this really great tourist area. What if we invited the autism world to come play with us at the beach, right? So I was on the Surfside Beach Business Committee and floated the idea of, having the area be autism-friendly. And in January 2016, Surfside was the first town anywhere to declare themselves an autism-friendly travel destination. And we were off and running from there. And then it was hotels and attractions and more restaurants. And now we've grown to, we have wonderful now online modules. COVID really helped. We made the pivot. Obviously we couldn't do the trainings live and on site during COVID. So we took a lot of our training programs and made them into online on-demand modules. And so now we have restaurants, retail, resorts, first responders, general autism awareness, activities providers, and education. And many of those are offered in Spanish as well as English. And so now we're kind of moving out nationwide. We have a great partnership with Blue Green Resorts. They have 5 properties here in Myrtle Beach that we trained. That was our test market, and then we rolled it out in 2021 to all 46 of their resorts around the country. So now, our families have a plethora of places to go to, and now the mission is to use those resorts kind of like as our jumping off point in those markets to get restaurants and stores and, first responders, everybody kind of like autism friendly and participate in the program to support their locals and tourists as well.
That is so awesome. I know when I used to go to the movies with Josh when he was younger, I had to sit to the side, and he would talk to the whole movie because he would ask me questions because he didn't understand. And I would, that's why I said, near the end. And sometimes he would cry. He was afraid.
Right, yeah,
dark
and loud, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy.
Yes, and it was really, sometimes you just don't know how they think. We're watching, I don't even remember the name of the movie, and the guy was in a disguise, and Josh had a difficulty knowing that that was the same person, but in a disguise. Oh. And he was upset. He goes, I can't even understand the movie. I said, well, that's right. I'll explain it to you after the movie. So it's really sometimes a challenge, folks. We don't know really how they think and process. It never ceases to amaze me. And I think that to have, like teachers especially, police officers, to know and understand people who have autism and other disabilities, and know how to handle a situation like if they go to arrest someone who's autistic. A lot of autistic people with autism don't want to be touched.
Right.
They get very upset, and I think to that, and also what you just said, the first responders, the EMTs, they need to know this too. It's really very important, and also, I would suggest to people that are listening, go to your police department or sheriff's department, whatever you have, and ask them, are they educated on dealing with people who have autism? Do they have, we call it a Safe and Sound program here where I live. Do they have that? And you could register.
Right. So
relative.
A lot of what with the police and first responders, it's like, especially police, a lot of autistic behaviors are, or dealing with somebody with autism is counterintuitive to your training, right? Because they're all about, like if somebody's sassing them or awkward, like awkward communications, like are they on? So a lot of times the first thing that the officer is going to think is that they're on drugs, or they're trying to sass them, or and so giving them this, it's just a little bit of education. It doesn't take a lot, and awareness to be like, oh, this person could be on the spectrum. It's interesting because when we talk to fire departments, first responders, and police, they're like, especially police, are on the cars. Is there a sticker that we can put on the car? And I was like, well, people have tried that, but then, if it says, somebody in the car has autism, like people have taken advantage of them or bullied them. It's more of a privacy issue. And one of the things that we developed, when we first started was, restaurants specifically are like, how are we going to know that someone with autism is here? So we developed a card program, call it the CAN card, and participating businesses offer a service or a discount to our families. So you can get to the head of the line or get a 10% off. And so when they get to the business, whether it's a restaurant or whatever, they show the card. And somebody just recently said, the card's a great idea, and what if they showed the card and their license at the same time? And I thought that was kind of brilliant, because I know my son does not, when he went to get his driver's license, he does not want it to be listed on there that he has autism. So that would be one thing that, somebody who was in a similar situation could do,
Yes. There's even cards. I find I can't help but compare the two, autism and Alzheimer's. I lived in both worlds, and there are cards that say, this individual has autism, and so there's a lot of common ground, getting people to be dementia-friendly, getting people to be autism-friendly. And, sometimes people just rush to judgment. Why is that kid acting that way? Oh, they're not disciplined. Of course, it's the mother school.
We're horrible parents. Yes, we're horrible parents, and they're evil spawn. Ugh,
yeah.
I hate that.
You could, I was at a concession stand, and this child, I could just tell that he had autism. And the mom was like, you could tell she was just mortified the way her child was behaving. And thinking, this lady knows that people are looking at her and they don't understand. I understand.
Right.
But Josh never had, outbursts like that. But, when you have, this is where it's very tricky, for me anyway, Becky. Josh, if you look at him and you talk to him, you would think, oh, yeah, he understands, he's fine. Josh won't admit that he doesn't understand.
Right.
And I used to tell him, Josh, it's better for you to tell someone you don't understand than for them to think that you understand and you do something that's not right, especially if you're at work. You don't understand what your boss told you. You need to tell them that. But he's embarrassed to say.
Well, for sure.
He doesn't understand.
For sure. Yeah, and it's a battle, for sure. And, like always trying, because one of the things that people with autism don't know how to ask for help, but it probably comes down to not knowing when or how to, right? They're just trying to get through the day, I guess, kind of like Josh at work. And, just always saying, ask for help, ask for help. And my son started a job at a fast food restaurant, and he would, he'd be like, I need help. I need help. And they're like, but we told you this already. And they got really frustrated with him. But they hung in the pocket with him. And once he got it, and the fact that it was like a corporate job, I thought being corporate was awesome because all the rules and processes are there. And he's, a rule follower. And it worked out really, really well for him until he was like, they wanted him to be a manager. I was really proud of him. So, our boys,
awesome.
They just got to hang in there and keep asking, right? Oh my goodness.
Right.
What does Josh do?
Josh is a bus aide, and I'm really proud of him. His first job that he had after school didn't work out. They were very nasty to him. They wouldn't let him have a job coach, and I told him to leave. And I called up the 800 ethic number, and I reported him. Oh. And then I don't know if it's a coincidence, they cleaned house and got new managers and new staff in that store. But I told them, if you're going to hire people that have disabilities, then you need to work with them. When they tell you this is their availability, don't say work these hours when you know they told you already they couldn't. And to have a job coach there. And I said, Josh, go down to the bus company. He doesn't drive. It's in walking distance. And he went down, and he got the job. He's working there. It'll be 16 years already. What time goes by? And this bus company is so wonderful. They hire a lot of people with different disabilities, a lot. And they are so good to him. They say they love Josh. They work with him. He has a job coach, but he doesn't really, need it. He's able to do the job. And they really are very nice to their employees. When Matt was sick, Josh's dad, we couldn't do the Family Leave Act, so they just let Josh work in the morning and be off in the afternoon. I have no complaints. I really have praise that this company is awesome. I would say their name, but I don't know if they want their name mentioned.
Right.
But there are nice people out there. And the thing is, I don't know if your son is like this, but Josh was very rigid in his regiments, I call it. Loves routine. And they can memorize. I mean, Josh memorizes. Oh, yeah. So they're very faithful, loyal workers. Josh does not like to miss work. So when COVID happened and he didn't have a job, and it was devastating. And couldn't socialize.
People. Oh, dear God, right.
His whole routine was taken away from him. The whole routine, plus his father dying. So that was a double whammy.
God. How long ago did his father die?
2.5 years ago.
Oh, my goodness. I'm so sorry.
Oh, thank you.
Much.
But I'll tell you, Becky, Josh was so good with Matt, more patient than me at times. And he took caregiving seriously. He was proud to be a caregiver. And he understood more about Alzheimer's than so-called, and I say so-called, intelligent people. And he was very sensitive when people would make jokes. I mean, we, of course, had our humor in our home.
Right.
We had to.
Right.
But he did not like hearing people make jokes about it. He's very sensitive about it. And, Josh is a very compassionate person. He does have social difficulties, social cues. And I have to ask you this. I took Josh for social skills therapy. He was in with a group of other boys just, like him, same diagnosis. But Josh couldn't transfer his knowledge from one setting to another. Does your son have that difficulty?
I don't know, to be quite honest. Might need some coaching, though, like to see the similarities or whatever, because now he's he's still in the restaurant industry, but now it's like one pizza shop, and it's much different, right, because it's not corporate. So, just trying to navigate that, there's always one or two coworkers who are difficult and things like that, but he seems to be okay. We are trying to get him into an employment program down here. So we'll see. There's an organization down here that I'm working with because they have a program for people with intellectual disabilities, and they would like to hire, there's all these businesses down here that would like to work with people with autism. So we're trying to improve that a little bit. And their process is, for neurotypical people, that you can come in for 2 4-hour sessions and we can get all this done, or 1 8-hour day. And I was like, that's never going to work. I was like, it's going to probably take a good, I would think 8 weeks of this process, because they have to think about it, you don't want them to be anxious. There's all these different, pieces and assessments and all these things that they have to go through. So we're just trying to revamp that process in the hopes of, helping people like Josh and my son.
How old is your son?
19.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's a lot younger than Josh. Josh just turned 38. I can't believe it.
Wow.
I can't believe it. Yeah, I'm an old lady. I have to ask you, Becky, if you have any advice for parents out there who are just starting to navigate the process, that they found out that their child has some type of autism.
I think that the hardest thing is that, first of all, it's like, stages of mourning, because you have to realize that, the dreams that you had for your child, we all have them, right? The husbands want to play basketball or sports, or, it's just, you have to focus on this person and this entity as, it's autism's part of it, and try and provide them with everything you can. And of course, the hard part is that the numbers are increasing and there's not enough service providers. And so the wait lists are long. And, I think the first thing is don't panic, because it's truly a lifelong marathon. It's not a race. And, you could be wringing your hands if you just got the diagnosis when your child is 2, and it doesn't look like you can get services until they're like 3 or 4, because you hear that early intervention is key. You can educate yourself. There's a lot out there now for parents to learn more. Certainly reach out to us. We're a network on purpose. If I don't have the answer or the connection, we will get it. That's why we're here. And just, it is so isolating, because you don't feel like you can leave your home, but know that you really aren't alone, although it may feel like it many times, because we don't like to talk about it or share it. Maybe because people are judgmental or they don't understand. But, call Betsy, call me, and we'll giggle and laugh because of all the quirky little crazy things that happen, or we'll cry together, because of all the quirky, crazy things that happen. And, we're truly a community, and we're here to support. And I think that the greatest thing is like when I'm talking to you, you're like, oh my gosh, we have so much in common. And that's just the way it is with all the autism parents, they're like, really, you had that? And we're like, oh yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, it's been, it's a wild ride, and you're not alone. And, and the other thing is, is don't take it personally, because you know how they don't suffer fools, and they call it like they see it. And, you know, there's a certain beauty in that sort of, but it can seem hurtful. So you got to have a thick skin.
Yes, yes. Oh, well, thank you so much for coming on, Becky. Becky Large. Folks, you need to get in touch with her. Champion Autism Network.com. It will be in the blog. And also you have a YouTube channel, which I'll also...
Oh, yeah, we're everywhere, baby. Yeah, we got our PSAs there. We have public service announcements and, you know, to educate people and, you know, all kinds of fun stuff. So check it out and, you know, contact us if we can be of any service. And thank you so much, Betsy. It's been wonderful as always.
Oh, you are very welcome, Becky. It is my pleasure. And, folks, this is why I do what I do. Like Becky just said, you know, she wants people to know that they're not alone. I want people to know that they're not alone. I say this all the time. People think they're all alone in how they feel. Mm-hmm. You're not. You're not alone, and we're here to help. This is, you know, my show, Chatting with Betsy, isn't about me. It's about helping people, and it's about providing resources for people for you to know that there's help out there. And, you know, you could contact me, contact Becky. You're not alone. There is help out there. And that's one of the reasons why I do my show. And I'm very grateful and thankful to be able to do that. So I thank you, Becky Large, for what you're doing and helping others. I really admire you. And, folks, if you missed any of this show, you can't say podcast, show, you can catch it all again wherever you hear your favorite podcasts or shows, on Spreaker, Spotify, Apple, many places. It's free to subscribe, and I would recommend doing that because I'm a phenomenal guest. And I want to thank Jeannie White, who writes the blog and produces the show. The information about Champion Autism Network.com will be in there, and about Becky. And I highly recommend you contacting Becky Large, and I highly recommend going on ChampionAutismNetwork.com and going on the YouTube channel. I also recommend going back as opposed to June 10th, the show I did with Becky Large and Julie Ellis, talking about the Autism-friendly Myrtle Beach community. Great show. Great resources.
Yeah, it was.
That was fantastic. Yeah. And I want to thank Lillian Caldwell, who's CEO of Passion World Talk Radio, who makes this all possible. And, folks, I say this all the time as I end my show. In a world where you could be anything, please be kind. You know, don't judge people. You don't know what that person is going through. You don't know if, you know, you see a child have an outburst. It's not always the mother's fault. The child might have a disability. You don't know that. I don't know that. Stop judging. And how about this? Stop judging and start helping. You know, reach out a hand and help someone. And if you know anyone who has a child or an adult with autism, share this show. Tell them about ChampionAutismNetwork.com. This is, you know, paying it forward. Help somebody. I know I've told many people about Becky Large and her network. And I'm proud to wear the bracelet that you sent me, the rubber band.
Yay.
How do people get that, Becky? Those pretty rainbow Champion Autism Network bands.
They can come to Myrtle Beach and come to one of our the golf cart parades, or they can sign up for a can card or contact us at info@championautismnetwork.com.
Oh, great. Well, thank you again, Becky Large, for coming on and sharing your advocacy with us. You're welcome. Okay, folks, that's it for today. This is Betsy Wurzel, your host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio. Bye-bye now.